Welcome to Smart Parents, Successful Students, the podcast that helps parents like you guide your children toward academic confidence and success. I'm your host, Helen Panos, and I'm here to share expert tips, proven strategies, and inspiring stories that make the journey to school success a little smoother for both you and your student. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Smart Parents, Successful Students podcast. I'm your host, Helen Panos, and I have a guest with me again today in our new season 15. Her name is Rebecca Oertell. Welcome, Rebecca, to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Helen.
Oh, thank you for coming. I know we talked a while back, and I'm so excited that you started your company, Coach Me Too. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first, I want to introduce our guest. Today's guest is founder of Coach Me Too, a global nonprofit on a mission to ensure every teen has access to professional support during one of the most challenging and informative periods of their lives. Rebecca started Coach Me Too after witnessing how today's teens are struggling with unprecedented levels of anxiety, burnout, and achievement pressure, yet most families face unsurmountable barriers for getting help. Don't we know that, right? And no cost to families, CoachMe2.world provides virtual professional coaching to teens ages 14 to 19 from coaches certified by the International Coaching Federation and or the National Board for Health and Wellness Coaching. Through coaching relationships, teens discover their internal motivators, develop resilience, and learn to navigate life's challenges with clarity, compassion, and confidence. And in 2026, yay, not far. Wow, it'll be here. CoachMe2.world is launching a peer coaching program where teens will learn transformative coaching skills to support one another, creating a community of connection in a world where teens increasingly feel isolated and overwhelmed. Wow, that is amazing. I think this is a terrific program. Just reading your introduction there, Rebecca.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about what got you to this journey and where you are today.
Yeah, I think my story is kind of interesting, I guess, a little bit different, probably not typical. I started off as an estate planning attorney, so
That's
pretty boring. Yeah, pretty boring. And I did a lot of work working with ultra high net worth individuals and families, actually, that were running ongoing businesses or family foundations. And as sort of my job evolved, I became more involved in working with them on how they can sort of apply bigger picture thinking. So trying to figure out like how they can benefit and support the next generation of their wealth holders, if you will. And so we would often sit around the table. We would talk about like, what do you want your life to be? What vision do you have for your family, for your future of your children? Like, what do you really see for yourselves? And we did all kind of really neat work. It was very fulfilling. I enjoyed it very much, but it kind of left me thinking like, why are only these wealthy families working on this? Why are they the only ones that are being intentional and purposeful about how they're shaping the lives of their children? And about that same time, I was witnessing, my own children growing up, and I was seeing what I think was the result of, or playing out in real time, a crisis of connections. So I was seeing teenagers that were either completely shut down, sort of going through the motions, very complacent, their answers to everything, or I don't know, and fine. Rebelling, pushing back against authority or parents having any sort of control or rules, or doing the exact opposite, being like fully compliant, totally burnt out and checking every box, just didn't matter what mattered to them. They were just doing all the right things. And I was thinking like, something's going on here, So I started down my quest of understanding human potential, motivation, like behavioral science, habit formation, this kind of thing. And I eventually became certified by the NBC HWC. So that's the National Board Health and Wellness Coaches. And all of these things just sort of clicked together. And one day when I was kind of doing some of my studying, I was thinking, there's this crisis going on. I don't feel like kids are connected to their parents. They're not connected to each other. Like, what's going on? And I was thinking, coaching is really applicable to this adolescent stage. It supports autonomy. It's about connectedness. It's about developing competency. And I thought, like, what if coaching is the answer to all of this? And I think coaching works. The research is out there. The research is out there about coaching with teens. So the teen population benefits from it. A recent study showed that 71% of adolescents with moderate anxiety or depression experienced stabilized or improved symptoms after just 6 coaching sessions. So it works. And so I started thinking, like, this is amazing. We need to be doing more of this. But then I'm like, the only people who get this are executives, wealthier families, or maybe families of executives, or people who have like employee benefits. And I'm like, we need to provide this for everyone. So I just set out on the mission to start CoachMe2.world. And that's what we do. We coach teens 14 to 19 and trying to get them from sort of that just surviving area into thriving.
Is that why you picked 19? So get them over into the college transition years?
Exactly. So we will coach kids, up through the end of their senior year and through that next year. So it could be their first year of college. It could be their gap year, for example.
That's right.
So we're still holding on to them then for sure, because I think those are still very crucial parts of their development. And it's, adolescence is that discovery phase. And so it's important that they've got, a non-judgmental listening partner who can help guide them along the way.
Right. So you mentioned a crisis of connection, right? What exactly do you mean by that? And what is happening in the parent-teen relationships right now?
Yeah. So I think the crisis is really, there's a lack of connection between teens and their peers, and there's a lack of connection between teens and their parents. So when I work with teens, I'm hearing sort of like 3 general themes of why they don't communicate or share with their parents. The first is they really believe that their parents don't care, and not like don't care, don't love them, but are really looking at them more about like the outcomes of what they're doing, are seeing them more as resume builders rather than people. So parents who are more about performance than the children.
I see.
Yeah. And then the second one I would say is teens who are afraid their parents are going to discount them. So discount their feelings, minimize their concerns. So they'll often hold back and not share. When parents are trying to be reassuring, they'll often say things like, like if a teen's like, oh, I'm so stressed out about a test, or, my friend was mean to me, or any of those things that happen in teen life. A lot of times parents will be rather dismissive. They're intending to be supportive, but it sounds like they're discounting what is going on in the teen life and the value that the teen is, trying to share, like what they're really trying to share, the validity of their feelings. So, and then the third one is really that they're afraid their parents are going to overreact. Totally guilty of this. But, a lot of times when teens share something that's going on, that's sort of a big event, the parent immediately just spirals out of control. They're trying so hard to fix it. They want to change things. They want to make things better and lecture or whatever it is. And that's not what the teens want to hear. That's not what they need right there. And so sometimes they're just trying to prevent that, the overreaction. So teens often shut down, or they do all the right things, or they turn to ChatGPT or other chatbots because those bots are reaffirming, they're validating. Right. They do all those things, but they're not providing that connection that the humans can provide, that connection of saying like, I don't have to listen to you right now. the bot does, but I don't have to, but I choose to because you're important enough, like you're valuable enough. So I'm going to sit with you. I'm going to listen to what's really going on. I want to know more. I'm very curious and I want to see how I can support you. And so that's the connection that I think people, parents, coaches, and teens, if they learn how to do it, can provide for each other. So one really interesting thing is I didn't know exactly what to talk about for this podcast, and I was thinking about all kinds of things. So I thought, like, why don't I just ask my teens what do they think parents need to know, right?
Right.
So like, what would you tell your parents if you could tell them anything? And they said, I wish my parents could learn how to listen like my coach. And I thought, that's so interesting because I have this random theory that what we're doing is, I call it Pinocchio parenting. So do you remember that Geico commercial where Pinocchio is a motivational speaker? And he's like looking around the room and he goes, when I look around this room, I see nothing but untapped potential. And then he's like looking at each person. He's like, you have a lot of potential. And Pinocchio's nose grows. And then you have a lot of potential, the nose grows. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what we're doing as parents. We're saying, we believe in you. We support you. We totally think you've got it. You can do anything. But then as soon as something challenging comes up, we jump in to fix it. You know, we're not acting and behaving in a way that shows we really believe what we're saying. So I feel like if we can learn how to kind of like create that dynamic or the dimension in the relationship between us and our children to do things that are in line with what we say about them. So if we say we believe in them, we respond to their issues, their problems, their concerns in a way that shows we actually do. And for me, I mean, it's all about like keeping in mind that we're not raising teens or college students. We're raising adults. And if we keep that, that long-term perspective in mind and about what is it that I want my adult to learn? What is it that I want, my future roommate, my future business associate, my future husband or wife? Like, what is it that they need to know to be successful and thriving individuals in the world? I think it kind of like changes the way we listen and support them.
Right.
And I think
it becomes more skills, right?
Absolutely.
Than academics. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about the big things, right? And the academics are important. Don't get me wrong, like totally important.
Oh yeah.
But I think there's so much that as parents, we've got the tutors, we've got teachers. There's a lot of support out there for and amazing support for helping beef up the academics. But I think where we're sort of losing sight of some things is that connection, that listening, that curiosity into like as to what these developing adults are turning into.
So, we talk about the concept of Pinocchio parenting versus active listening. I love that image of the growing nose when our actions don't match our words, right? Can you break down what the active listening really means? Specifically, maybe give an example if you have an example, that would be great, of what that looks like.
Yeah. So in coaching, there's 3 levels of listening. The level 1 listening is what we normally do every day. So it's when you're listening to somebody and you're really paying attention, but you're really thinking like, oh, how can I relate to that? Or, oh yeah, that happened to me before. Or, wow, that must be really hard. And then sometimes we jump in to fix it. That's level 1 listening. We're sort of involved in that process. Level 2 listening is more active or focused listening. And that's when you're completely focused on that other person. You're genuinely curious about the words that they're using, the perspective that they're coming from, the experience that they've had. You're not planning your response. I'm very guilty of that. I'm always thinking about what I'm going to say next. But you're genuinely trying to understand. And then there's level 3 listening, which is trying to take in everything, like feeling the energy level, looking at body language, just really trying to get a global listening perspective of what's being said. So those are the three levels of listening. And active listening, I firmly believe, like level 2, level 3 listening is really our antidote to Pinocchio parenting. So I think an example would be like, so if you say you've got a teenager who comes to you and says like, hey, I think I'm not going to take AP bio next year. It's just too much. Immediately, most parents go into, oh my gosh, right? Like, what's that going to do for my child's future? Like, if they don't take AP bio, they're not going to be able to, go into a great college and, become, I don't know, a doctor or something. So we just automatically freak out or we respond in the wrong way. We'll often say like, what are you talking about? Everybody else is taking AP bio, or, you have to do it because you're going to reduce your chances of college. We start into all these things. We start telling them why they have to do AP bio instead. But if we were really listening actively and with curiosity, we might say like, oh, like, you're not going to take AP bio, like, why not? And they might say, it's just too much. And, I'm taking 2 APs this year. I already am drowning. I never sleep. Like, what's the point of all this? So then you have a moment to say like, you're feeling burnt out, right? You sound like you feel like you're drowning and you're really wondering like, what is all this for? Is it worthwhile? And that teen suddenly feels heard, right? They're like, yeah, I totally agree with you. Or if they don't agree with you, if you've approached it with curiosity, you've maybe given your best guess or asked a better question and you've not hit the nail on the head, that's a great chance for them to be like, that's not true, Mom. The reason why is, it's just corporate greed, or like, who knows what they're going to say, but you're learning about your child and you're able to now, in a curious way, engage in a conversation that's helping you understand them more, but also helping them take a look at their reasoning and their understanding of why they're deciding this thing and how that might shape their future. And it becomes, a great learning experience for both of you in that conversation. So I think that's where the type of curious listening, a curious conversation is, a great strategy to sort of that need to jump in and fix it.
And then kind of figure out if that's really what's neat, if that class is really needed for whatever their major might be. And why put the pressure on them? Every child doesn't need that kind of pressure.
You're exactly right. Or, maybe from that conversation, say, you could be like, I'm just too stressed out or whatever. And then it could be like a whole another like game plan. Like, well, what did you not like about bio? What did you like about bio? Suddenly you're learning that, they really liked whatever physics instead. And then you're like, okay, well, what might that look like? And it becomes a totally different conversation than it was when you're like, you have to take AP bio because everybody else is. Like, this is what you have to do.
Yeah. Because then that might have them realize they had a major that they thought they wanted. And then maybe it's opening up another discussion.
Absolutely. And the more we can get our teens to talk, I mean, it's so wonderful.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Teens don't like to talk a lot.
And you're helping that by them talking, they're hearing themselves and their thinking process. So that is invaluable. Like if you can get them to think out loud and to hear what they're saying and to reason, you're just guiding them. Right. Yeah. Exactly. And you're just guiding them and you're asking them the right questions just because you're honestly curious and you're not trying to disguise what you think they should do with a question. Like, well, shouldn't you take it so you can become a doctor? It's a real curious question. Like, well, what would be the benefit for not taking it? And then what would be the benefit for taking it or something like that? Yeah.
So let's get really practical. What is a concrete strategy now that parents listening can start using today to become better active listeners with their teens? What could they do? What's a strategy?
Yeah. So, okay. So I'm a coach, so I don't really love one size fits all solutions, but I'll give you this that I think one of the best, I call this like the 3 breath rule or whatever. So you're going to give 3 breaths. So when a teen says something to you that sort of triggers either an overreaction or a fix it impulse, you take the first breath and you just notice your emotion. Notice where you're feeling it in your body. Name the emotion. Like, what is it you're feeling? Like, maybe I'm frustrated or I'm disappointed or I don't know, just whatever the emotion is. And then if you can, like, try to figure out why. Like, it could be because, I'm disappointed because my need for control is not being met, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
about me. So
Mm-hmm.
just sort of reflect in that first breath, the noticing. The second breath is getting curious and start thinking, like, what did they actually say? What were the words they used?
Right.
I wonder why, right? Like, they look stressed out or they look exhausted or I wonder what's going on there. So just get curious. And then in the third breath, formulate a question. Don't respond, don't fix it. Formulate a question and preferably an open ended question. So something that starts with a how, a what, or a tell me more, right?
Right. Yeah.
Not a why. A why can be open ended, but a lot of times whys can sound judgy. So what we're
Yeah,
trying to
sure.
do is resist the judgment, let it go, and really hear more about what our teams are saying. So
Mhm.
I would say the 3 step rules. Yeah, 3 step of breathing, 3 breaths,
That's
definitely.
cool. That's great. I have one quick question if we can answer it in like a couple minutes.
Sure.
So I know you have a powerful philosophy. We're not raising college students, we're raising adults. How does active listening fit into the bigger vision, and how does your peer coaching program, um, Coach Me to put that into place?
Right. So I think, one of the hardest things, it's the fixing reflex or is really called a writing reflex. There's actually a psychological term for it. And it's incredibly strong when we're working with our own children. So one of the hardest things to do is to really be that curious, non-judgmental,
Yeah.
active listener with our children. It just is. Even motivational interviewing practitioners say they can't do it at home. Like they just can't. It's
Yeah, it's
just so
hard.
hard. It is. It really is. So if you find you're really trying to do this, you really want your children, your teens to have an adult that they can talk to and that they will communicate with and that can really help guide them into the discovery of their own selves during their adolescence. If you can't do it, I say start early. If you try, like start in middle school, definitely starting to let go of the control and finding different little ways to become a more active listener. But if you've got an older teen or you just don't have that personality, that drive, or that interest, but you really want your team to have an active listener, somebody who's there for them to guide them, point them in our direction, coachme2.world. And where we're trying to really expand this is with our peer coaching program, because we believe, and this is totally a pilot program, but that when teens learn how to communicate that way with each other, that they are going to also learn autonomy, self awareness, internal motivation, emotional regulation,
Mhm.
a variety of communication skills, resilience. They're going to learn how to be more self compassionate. One thing we are missing a lot of these days. And this process will not only strengthen the teens who are learning how to be coaches, but it will strengthen the teens that they are peer coaching. So it's a wonderful way to improve the communication of team to team, peer to peer. And we really hope that this, really the listening with curiosity, active listening, the coaching skills are able to kind of bridge that divide or help cure our crisis of loneliness and isolation and disconnection that we're all feeling, especially in our younger population today. So
That's
that's
great.
kind of really where it's all coming from.
That's good. So tell people how they can reach you, because I know you have different programs like internships, the peer
Mhm.
coaching program you mentioned, teen board
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
advisors.
Yeah. So we are, so we're new. We've only been around for a year now. And so if anyone listening wants to get their teens involved, whatever you do, please do not just fill out the form for them. We do not want that. But you can tell your teens about it and encourage them to fill out the form on our website at coachme2, and it's the number 2.world. And they can fill out the form. Tell us if they're just interested. They're like, hey, we have internships available. I'd love to get involved. I love what you're doing. If they're interested in the peer coaching program, we're starting a teen board of advisors. So if you have any teens that in any way want to be connected to coachme2.world, please encourage them to go to our site, fill out the form. And as a parent, if you are just curious, concerned, just send me a note. Fill out the form. Tell me you're a parent. You want to know more. I'll meet with you. All of the forms go straight to me. I will schedule a call with you. We'll talk for 15 minutes and I'll just share more about what we do and maybe ease any worries you might have. So I just hope that, together we can figure this out. Like I'm hopeful.
Yeah. And by the way, parents, the links will all be there in the notes and the show notes, so you can click on them. One thing I wanted to ask is, are those programs with the teens, are they in person, virtual, or both?
So everything is virtual. It's all online, and we're global. I mean, some of our coaches are all around the world. We've got one in Switzerland, one in the UK. Like, there's really neat. It's a really amazing, neat, wonderful program. So
That's awesome.
It's all virtual. And if your teens are interested at all in like social sciences, psychology, business, entrepreneurship, leadership, peer coaching is super important. These are critical skills. They're going to make the teens better, help the teens discover themselves better, but they're also going to help them communicate better, be better leaders in the future. So it's all
Then they'll meet friends internationally too, right?
And we're going to have international friends. So it's going to be, hopefully, it's going to be real connections.
That's awesome.
Real connections. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, thank you, Rebecca, for joining me on Smart Parents, Successful Students and sharing your knowledge of all this. This is terrific. I think it's a great program, folks. There's not a lot of teen programs out there. We're just saying there aren't a lot of places for teens to go and even hang out like they used to when I was growing up. So I'd like them to take some of these places in Atlanta that are vacating now and turning them into some kind of a teen place like we had when we used to go roller skating, and we went dancing actually and meeting up together in a club, which was really an adult club, but then they'd make it a Sunday night teen place, right? So yeah, I feel like that connection is kind of been missing because a lot of the virtual since COVID and really before. So I hope everybody reaches out to Rebecca and speaks with her and get your teens involved somehow, some way. And I love all the ideas too and the strategies you've given. Those are great, terrific. Because you're welcome. We've added in executive functioning, so a lot of these are skills that kids are not being taught in school. Of course, I mean, teachers are busy teaching content.
You're overwhelmed.
Yeah, and I understand parents and moms especially are working nowadays, and they're busy. So I think some of these skills are kind of somehow swimming out the door.
Right. Absolutely.
But anyway, so that's why we're here, and we're doing all these kinds of shows and podcasts and things, and it's about resources. So I love providing resources, and I'm glad you joined us today. Well, thank you very much again, and everybody, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to Smart Parents, Successful Students podcast. If you found today's episode insightful, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out our YouTube channel for even more tips to help your student thrive. Until next time, keep guiding your children towards success.